Hi, I'm Kate Ashton, and welcome to Art on 30th. And believe it or not, this is Valentine's night. And so we are in a big old celebratory mood tonight. We've got a lot of colorful art on this show. We've got in the other room, we've got lots of hearts because it's Valentine's night, and we go, why not? And so we usually have a show every 5 weeks. And it's open to anybody in the community is welcome to enter the show. And what we do is people enter their art into the show, and then we have a juror, and the juror says, yes on this one, no thank you on that one, and whatever the juror picks, we hang it. So everything that's on the walls tonight is art that a juror has chosen from the artists of San Diego. When I first was putting together the idea for Art on 30th, I wanted a place where I could teach, because I love to teach, and I like to teach abstract art, and there are not many people who do. And so I wanted to open something, so I spent a year planning the business and how it was going to be and what was going to happen. And it's a unique idea because everything that an artist needs is under this roof. We've got private studios upstairs for individual artists who are doing their own thing. We've got classes for 5 different levels of artists, beginning with level 1, going all the way to level 5, so that people can actually grow. There's a lot of wonderful places in town that offer classes or workshops, but there's no place else that really gives the artist a chance to get on a road and grow on that road as an artist until they can become a professional. I used to teach in college. In college, if you go to college, they'll teach you how to paint, but nobody teaches you how to go to market. They just, we taught you how to paint, bye, see you later. I wanted to change that. We have a program here that is unique in San Diego. It's called Keys to the Art World. A lot of artists, they're sitting at home, maybe painting on their kitchen table or on an easel, but they don't know how to get involved in the art world. They don't know how to go about it. And if they come here, we have a 6-month program that says, you want to be part of the art world? Let us show you how. Let us show you how to do that. So 6 months, people learn how to do social media. They learn how to do their emails. They learn how to get involved in classes, how to get involved in shows. We teach them how to sell their artwork, how to negotiate with buyers, how to actually be an artist who's a professional and actually making it in the art world. So that's what's unique about Art on 30th. There's other wonderful places that teach classes, but nobody else really puts people on a pathway to success and helps them get there. So that's what Art on 30th is about. I got started, I never, ever, ever intended to do something like this. I thought, you know what? I'm going to do my art. I don't care if I ever sell a piece. I'm just going to do it for me, for my own edification. And so I was doing art, and I said, but I need to find some art friends. So I started going to art shows, and so I got kind of involved in the arts community. And once I got to know people, and they were entering shows, I thought, well, maybe I could enter a show too. So I began to enter shows, and I remember the first time I ever sold a work of art, I thought, oh my God, I really am an artist now. I just sold a piece of art. And of course, that was a long time ago, and since then I've sold a lot of art. But that's how I got started, and so I knew what it was like to be an outsider, trying to kind of get into the art world, and that was part of what drove me to do this.
Maureen KERR. I'm an artist here at Art on 30th in ASHTON Gallery. And I've been painting for about 5.5 years, which doesn't seem like a long time, but I paint all the time, every day. So I've come a long way, I feel, and I'm known for my colors, vibrant colors in my artwork. I started at Art on 30th about 4.5 years ago, and I actually entered my first juried show here. And when I got in, I was so excited because I had never done that before. So, so it started me entering juried shows, going to art walks and selling my art there, which was really exciting to talk to people about my art and to know that people liked my pieces enough to actually buy them and take them home. I also tutored artists, both in painting and 2D design class, and I tutored art history too at Cuyamaca College. So I haven't always been an artist, like I said. I was a human resources executive for 30+ years, and I left where I was working about the time COVID hit, and that really had me reassess what I was doing. I decided I wasn't going to go back to what I had always known, which was human resources, and started searching for something to kind of open up my creative juices. And I just took a drawing class online. And from there, I decided to enroll in college, and I got what amounts to an AA degree in art history and studio arts. And from there, I joined nonprofit organizations that supported artists. I started entering shows. I started doing the art walks, like I said. I started teaching. I was asked to teach at Art on 30th, and I really love it more than I ever thought I would, really exposing new artists and emerging artists to what they can do. And I do really firmly believe that, I know people think that you have to be born an artist, but you really don't. It really is a matter of practice, like every other career out there. And so I really encourage people that love to paint to continue doing it, and you'll emerge into something that is you. So, and then I do have a studio up at Art on 30th too, where I display my art. My working studio is at home. I find it easier to work at home and paint, but you know, the studio is a place where I can interact with clients, with art lovers, and display my art, my style of painting. So, so when you paint, when you first paint, you really don't know what you're doing. I mean, you're just kind of doing what you like, and you start by copying other artists that you like. And what emerged for me, before I even realized it, other people were telling me that I had a style of the Fauvism style, which is a period between 1904 and 1908 that included Matisse, André Derain, and Maurice de Flamenc. And they used very bold, vibrant colors that were not natural colors, very bold shapes to describe mostly landscapes. They did other things too. They did portraits and figures, and but that's what that period is known for. And they were really, that period is really considered the entryway into modern art. And it's very short, but very important period in art history. And so, so I'm proud to say that that's what people usually tell me when they see my art.
Robertson. I have an art studio in Studio 15 at Art on 30th. I'm a figurative artist working specifically in oil painting and drawing, and a lot of my work is a mix of political topics as well as a mix of surrealism and touches based on mental health. So it's kind of some heavy work, but if you see, it deals with a lot of traumatic and hard things, but it mixed with something beautiful so that it's easier for people to relate to and understand. So if you want to check me out, Art on 30th, Studio 15. You know, art was something I always felt safe doing. It kind of just revealed itself. I was actually trying to be a professional athlete and trying to run and get sponsorships that way. And then after COVID, I was a freshman in college and I wasn't running. And so I feel like, you know, my higher power came in touch, was like, no, you're going to do art. So it was a journey, but for my first painting I did in 2023 when I went to San Diego State, pushed me to start using color. I kind of just fell in love with it. I was like, I'm willing to sacrifice financial security for this dream of mine. And that's how I started, and that's how I'm going to live my life. So I'm excited. I'm in my first professional year, and I can say that it's one of the best years of my life. So my first like big sale for one of my bigger commission pieces, I used to pay for my studio rent pretty much for the year. So that was a huge accomplishment, and I actually thought about my finances ahead of time. So it's all worth it because that means I get the studio. I'd rather have the studio than a Porsche. So. Yeah, so when I was younger, I was more realism art. I thought that the more realistic you paint, the better of an artist. I had a rude awakening that nobody's buying something you can just take a photo of. So it opened up my world to be able to portray my emotions in an artistic, creative way. So I'm pushing more towards feeling in my work, focusing on colors and figures instead of hyper-realism and trying to paint someone's pores, which is a really important shift for me personally, because now I feel like I'm doing work that can touch people in a different way. I see myself selling at different venues like art walks around the world, internationally. I want to have my work be seen like all over the world to like bring a lot of the US problems that we're dealing with today. I kind of want to spread that outside of the US to get support. So selling in France or going to different art venues in Germany. Milan is one of the top artistic places in the world. So that's really ambitious, I understand. I'm starting from here. But the goal is to really reach as many people as possible with my work and just have my voice be heard, because there's a lot of people who are dealing with what I'm dealing with, especially living in the US. If I can speak for the masses and be able to provide, you know, freedom of speech, then that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do. So.
Hi, I'm Jan ERLICH-MOSS. I'm here at Art on 30th. I'm really fortunate to have to be the featured artist tonight. Some of my floral collection of paintings are here downstairs in the gallery. I also have a studio upstairs, and I have to say I'm really thrilled to be a part of this wonderful artistic community. All the artists who work here are so wonderfully friendly, and we help each other out when we have questions. We need feedback from each other on something we're working on. It's really nice to be able to knock on somebody else's door and say, hey, I'm thinking this needs this. What do you think? And get a nice educated response to that question. Kate ASHTON has really provided a wonderful space here for artists. There are monthly exhibits for juried shows. She features artists like I'm featured this evening. She has classes, and I would say it's just a joy to be here. I was a professional photographic artist for most of my career, and I started to paint. This is the beginning of my 7th year now. I got to the point where I had been doing very well with my photography. I had a one-person show up in Los Angeles in 2018, and afterwards sort of had the artist's equivalent of a writer's block. So I decided to take a class in painting, and I discovered Art on 30th ASHTON Gallery. I took one beginning painting class, I fell in love, and I've been painting ever since. I studied commercial photography first when I was in my 20s. And then I decided to get a MFA in photography and fine art photography, and that started me exhibiting. I exhibited nationally and internationally, actually, my photographs, and that background for me allows me to paint the way that I do now. I do not use reference material as many painters do. I get in touch with my mood, perhaps by listening to music or having been recently inspired by some colors or some weather. And whatever comes out is what comes out. And so sometimes they are florals and sometimes they're landscape. So with a photography background, I don't actually paint from references at all. I think I have so many thousands of, or maybe tens of thousands of landscapes in my brain. I'm a very outdoorsy person. I like to hike. And I think that the landscapes come out, the florals come out, and sometimes other, like just abstracts come out. And it really depends on my mood. I found my way to ASHTON Gallery Art on 30th because I was looking to take a beginning painting class. And when I had my last one-person show in photography, and I felt like I needed a little different kind of stimulation, artistic stimulation, I thought, oh, this will get my artistic juices going, and I will go back to my photography. But I fell in love with painting. I fell in love with Art on 30th. But now I take vacation photos, but pretty much professionally, I am an artist who works in painting as a main medium. I think that what comes next for me is a bit of a mystery. I do have some goals which will probably never come to fruition, but if you don't have goals, they never will. I would like to, it would be my life's dream to be able to have an exhibit in a museum of my paintings. I was fortunate enough to have a few exhibits of my photographs in various museums when I was doing that, and I would like to have that same amount of exposure with my paintings.
My name is Stacy Diogar, and I'm from the DC area, more specifically Northern Virginia, and I moved to San Diego in 1998. Well, what brought me to Art on 30th is I knew Kate already, and she had basically just bought the building, and I had my own studio already, and for a few years she kept trying to get me to come over here, and finally I did. So I've been here since October of 2017. I realized that I wanted to be an artist very young. I was always really good at it. I guess I was just born with it. And then as time went on, I just honed my skills. Well, I came up with my style. It kind of just happened organically. I always loved magical, surreal type of imagery. Julie Bell and Boris Vallejo were big influences of mine, along with M.C. Escher, Salvador Dali. And I just kind of took those concepts and what I personally like to look at, and just from my imagination, the things that go on in my head, just put them to canvas with paint. So yeah, I draw my inspiration from nature and people and the human consciousness and spirituality. I have an idea come into my head, and what I do is I collage everything together in Photoshop before I paint it to create the painting. And as I'm painting the painting, more ideas come in and I elaborate more on those ideas. When I start selling paintings, it validates what you know, my dream is, and that's to just create art. And so when I influence other people and bring inspiration to other people, that's what makes me happy and joyful and keeps me creating. What I would like to see in the future is traveling and painting. I don't know what that looks like necessarily, but I plan on staying in San Diego, and I would love to be, you know, making more of a living with it, which I'm doing now, but it definitely is a struggle. What I'm going to start doing, which I started doing the past few days, is posting reels and videos with myself in it, talking about it, because the collector wants to have a connection with the artist and know the artist's journey. So I feel like when I'm in the video or talking about a painting, it brings more light to my art and you know, connects with the collector, and people get to know me a little bit better. So I think that that will boost my visibility more. I came across programs that will do videos, which I would like to explore more. I have used AI to text prompt certain images that I cannot visually create in my mind to put on canvas. So I have used AI for text prompts for imagery for paintings, but yeah, I have not explored the AI videos and things enough. Currently, I don't have any commissions in progress. I'm painting something right now for a show coming up at the La Jolla Library through the San Diego Watercolor Society. Don't know if I'm going to finish it in time, but I'm doing my best.
Hi everyone, my name is Sky Silver. I'm an artist here at Art on 30th. Before I moved to San Diego, I grew up on the East Coast. I'm from Maryland, outside the DC area. I grew up along the Chesapeake Bay, so surrounded by very thick forest vegetation and access to the watershed. So that coastal influence really runs deep through my personal identity and my art. And from there, I've just been chasing the sunshine after going to college in Florida and then moving to San Diego about 8.5 years ago. Yeah, I was taking classes at a different San Diego art school just down the road in North Park. Just so much rich art culture here in North Park neighborhood. But then I just felt like I needed to have access to a proper art facility and be able to paint on my own time. So that's how I found Art on 30th, because they offer a great co-working option where outside of classes, you can use the downstairs facilities to just paint on your own time. So I established a lot of strong connections with the staff and the members of this incredible community. And when there was the opportunity to move upstairs and have a private studio space, I immediately jumped on it. And that was 6 years ago. So before I sold something here out of my studio, I was doing outdoor pop-up art markets, but those were really more of like your $20 to $30 range prints. So I had sold a decent amount of those, but that wasn't really that special. What was really special was when I sold my first large original. And my parents were actually here for that show, visiting from the East Coast, and they got to witness the transaction and the interaction that I was having with that collector. So I think that they were probably my good luck charms in that sale. It was really special that somebody thought I was talented enough to display my work on their walls permanently. A lot of my childhood I spent carving trails and just exploring in the woods by myself or with friends. And so like Bridge to Terabithia, if you're familiar with that book, I felt like I was creating my own palace, kingdom, make-believe universe out in the forest. And so my psychedelic living, breathing tree series really captures that. And then at present, outside of art, I'm a huge nature gal. So going on lots of hikes, up in Yosemite or even locally here in San Diego. And then surfing. Surfing is my other passion outside of art. So in those moments, those adrenaline moments of getting an epic wave or just sitting on the board, looking out at the horizon and the peace that brings, that's what really inspires me. Prior to being a PM at a tech company, I was in marketing and creative services within the consumer brand space. So I got to see firsthand how consumer brands speak to their audience and grow their brand through marketing activities. So it is helpful to have some graphic design experience and make all of those promotional materials that are necessary. But really, you just have to be okay and comfortable, confident speaking about yourself and making new connections and interactions. So, for example, I had a solo show at this coffee shop in Ocean Beach this summer, and I leveraged a connection to for that person to make the introduction with the management of the business. So. Just really owning and being confident about what you have to offer. And even if you don't have the graphic design experience and your business card looks a little funny, that really doesn't matter. It's about just the determination to move forward and accomplish your goals, basically. Where am I going? Well, you know, it's interesting because I have this obviously emotional, creative artist mind, but I also am I have this desire to like climb the business world and really contribute in, you know, my company that I work for. So I've dreamt about being a full-time artist, of course, but I have this analytical side of me that wants to achieve in the corporate world too. So my plan as it stands now is I'm going to continue to slowly nurture my art over the long haul. And then let's say I have an early retirement from my corporate job, maybe in my 50s, but then my art business is so thriving with all of these collectors and, you know, gallery opportunities that then I pivot and then I become the full-time artist in my 50s and do that for the rest of my life.
My name is Marina Anta and I'm from Russia. It's a small town in the mountains and it's pretty industrial, very well known there, but not here. It was always my passion ever since I was a child. I was just so drawn to that, and every time after school I had to run home, and before any lunch or anything else I had to paint something. It did not happen as I wished when I was a kid. My parents did not believe in art, and maybe it's just the whole town mentality, like where I used to live. So I had to forget about it for some time, and then I moved here, and I really started focusing on art professionally. In San Diego 3 years. I lived in Italy before, and I went to art school there, and then before that I was in East Coast, Washington, D.C., and I practiced art there. Was very engaged in art community there as well. So it's Rhode Island School of Design. I did not graduate. Then it was Italian school, it's classical art for 3 years. Then contemporary art school based in Moscow, and then also a film school for film directing. So when I moved to San Diego, I already had a great art foundation back in Italy. I was exhibiting in a few major museums, and I presented Italy in some competitions, including Malta. And when I moved here, I had all this ego, and I was like, okay, let me just be the star, the art star of the city. But I realized it's pretty much impossible. So I walked in here trying to get a studio, and they're like, girl, the least to get a studio is like 300 people, so we can put you on a waiting list. And then I'm like, I gotta be something else that I can do. And I started taking classes here. Straight from Kate ASHTON. She's an owner of this gallery and this beautiful art center in the community. And after that, she noticed that I'm very skilled, and she asked me to become a teacher. And then I moved to the studio like 6 months ago, and I love it. I love this community, and I just love people here. Other thing as well, so art, I don't believe it's a luxury to do art, like be entirely authentic to yourself and make living from that. just because people don't always get your art right away. And if you do commissions, it's not entirely art to me, and just the whole art practice should not have any pressure. So I do teach art a lot for money, and yes, I sell art as well, but I don't try to just like base my whole living on that. I think I sold it at the group show, so not from my studio, but like from one of the group shows, and I don't remember my reaction, honestly. I think I was pretty neutral, and I'm an introvert, and I remember I think collector wanted to ask me questions about it and talk to me, and I was just like, enjoy my art, leave me alone. You probably shouldn't add that one to the... I do have a brother. He's an amazing artist, and I believe like he's a better artist than I am, but he is in a different reality, so he's not practicing that. He's practicing business. He took the business after my dad. I have to think about that, because the obvious thing, like to become famous, to become rich out of your art, to just practice art freely, but I would say no, that is not my goal anymore. My goal is just to wake up every day, every morning, create things that I want to create without pleasing anyone else, and just be my true self, my authentic version, and kind of have an ability to have the practice and to explore art. It's a very, very humble goal. Just to keep creating and be true to myself and don't lie to myself.